This is PIX on Politics Daily with Dan Mannarino.
Hey everybody, happy Monday to you. Welcome to PIX on Politics Daily. I'm Dan Mannarino. It is September 8th. Let me get you up to speed on where I left you with last week to where we are this morning, okay, in terms of the race for New York City mayor. So I believe it was Thursday or Friday they were talking about the possibility that Eric Adams may drop out of the race, right? There were all these rumors and speculation about whether or not he was going to take a job in the Trump administration, if he was being offered an ambassadorship or so on and so forth. He came on the morning show last week. I did ask him about his time in Florida. He denied that he was meeting with anybody from the Trump administration. Then it turned out he was meeting with somebody from the Trump administration. Anyway, late Friday, he decides to have this press conference, and it was kind of masked in secrecy. This press release comes out to us here, right? And it was like announcement at 4:30 p.m. about the future of the mayor's race. So everyone assumes it's going to be he's dropping out of the race. That was not the case. So he comes out, Gracie Mansion, has his press conference, says, I am staying in the race, calls Andrew Cuomo a snake and a liar. And then continues that message throughout the weekend, calling Andrew Cuomo a snake and liar, going after Zohran Mamdani, of course, and says, I'm in it. So here we are, right? Monday morning, we still have Zohran Mamdani, Andrew Cuomo, Mayor Eric Adams, Curtis Sliwa. And so to be continued to see where exactly this goes. But that's just to catch you up to speed on where things stand in the race for mayor, because every day is an adventure when it comes to this race. Something else that happened over the weekend, Friday afternoon, I'm not sure if you've been following the news about COVID vaccines and so on and so forth, but President Trump and the administration looking to get rid of COVID vaccines and vaccines altogether in some places. I know state of Florida is looking at trying to do something like this, right? But Governor Hochul signed legislation that would prevent the COVID-19 vaccine from going away. It would have to be administered, I believe, by a pharmacist or a prescription. But let me bring in Senator John Liu right now, who is the guest today on our daily show to talk more about this. Good to see you.
Good to see you, Dan.
So that legislation allows now a prescription.
Yeah, well, actually, the legislation I just put in, so we're hoping to take it up as quickly as possible once we get back to Albany, probably in January. What Governor Hochul signed on Friday was an executive order that temporarily allows pharmacies to administer these vaccines.
But you had the legislation.
Yes, we'll make it permanent. It'll be much more intact in what the health department procedures are. You know, the problem is that under the Trump administration, the federal health department and also the Centers for Disease Control, they have all but become extinct. Mm-hmm. They're non-functioning. And in New York, we relied on CDC. There's an advisory committee under the CDC that authorizes vaccines for COVID and other diseases. And our pharmacies in New York State use that kind of authorization. But in the absence of that authorization, which right now is lacking, we need some mechanism for pharmacies to be empowered to administer these vaccines, because a lot of the major pharmacies, CVS, Walgreens, other big chains, have stopped giving the vaccines. My constituents have come to me and said, we can't get the COVID vaccine or other vaccines as well. So this legislation empowers the health commissioner to authorize pharmacies to administer these vaccines.
Yeah, so a big issue that I was hearing from folks this weekend about it, my neighbors were asking me about whether or not they can get the COVID-19 vaccine and if it would be covered by insurance. Yeah. That was a big thing, right? Because it goes away. What happens if you go get it from your primary care physician? Is it covered under insurance?
Yeah, I think that part has not changed. The part that we're trying to address is the fact that these pharmacies, small pharmacies as well as large chains, they're not empowered right now before Friday to administer these vaccines. Now, Governor Hochul's executive order does allow them to continue to do so.
Are you expecting resistance from some of this stuff? And from the Trump administration, the executive order or legislation that you passed in January?
I mean, I think that right now what we're seeing from the CDC and, you got RFK Jr.'s Department of Health and Human Services, they're not functioning. It doesn't seem like they're outright going after people who are providing vaccines. They're just simply saying, we're not necessarily sure that it works. The secretary fired most, if not all, of the 17 members of the advisory commission, so they're not able to make these authorizations of vaccines. So right now, it just seems like inaction as opposed to the federal government trying to stop people from getting vaccines.
Okay.
And hopefully that's going to be the case. In New York, we fully encourage people to get their vaccines.
Yeah, I mean, you heard what's going on in Florida, too. The governor there looking to get rid of vaccines altogether. I mean, even the president said that may be a little too far.
Yes, Trump actually said, I believe his exact words were, "Some vaccines work."
Yeah.
So we'll see which ones he thinks actually work.
So
But,
for this season, right? Because people are always like to kind of bundle their shots together. You've been told to go get your flu and COVID shot together, get it all in one swoop. People can effectively, in New York, go get their shots from a CVS, from a pharmacy, from wherever it may be,
yes,
and not have an issue.
Yes, and some of the federal officials have said, well, you can still get it from a doctor's office, which people in New York still can. The problem is it takes oftentimes a long time to make an appointment with your doctor.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't necessarily want to go in just to get a simple routine shot, which pharmacies have been doing for many years, and they should continue to do and will do under the governor's executive order and my legislation.
And that executive order is temporary. So your legislation picks up where that ends?
Yeah, I mean, the legislation is always much more permanent than executive orders.
Yeah. Do you think you have the support you need?
I think so. We'll see in January when we get back to Albany.
Yeah. I mean, is this, when you look at the kind of locally here in New York and around the country, when did vaccines become a political issue?
Well, they became a political issue in New York several years ago when we had an outbreak of the measles, which we thought, many people thought had been eradicated worldwide. And it made a huge resurgence in New York, made lots of people sick. There were fatalities. So it became a big issue here in New York. And then again, it became an issue during COVID when there were people even then who doubted the efficacy of the COVID vaccine, which had been proven scientifically over and over again. That
there's always been people who questioned whether or not vaccines worked. But all of a sudden, I feel like it became super politicized of getting rid of vaccines, and it became a state-by-state issue. And that seemed to pop up after COVID.
I would say it became super politicized the moment Trump mentioned RFK Jr., who has been a long anti-vaccine advocate, to mention that he might become the Secretary of Health and Human Services, and then he actually became. So it is now super politicized. And people talk about free choice when it comes to vaccines. It's not so much on some level, it's free choice, but more importantly, it's a matter of public health policy. Yeah. And when your kids, for example, are not vaccinated and they're going to school and they're exposing other kids, I mean, it's a matter of protecting kids. It's a matter of protecting the public health.
Yeah. While I have you here, though, I got to talk to you about other things. You heard me talk at the top.
Seriously?
I mean, you missed a minute. You missed a lot in New York. You're always willing to talk about everything. So, looking at the race for mayor, right? You're a former mayoral candidate.
Yes.
What do you think when you look at the race the way it is right now? This is super unique because we've never had a situation like this where we have a sitting mayor who's running as an independent but a Democrat. Obviously a former governor running as an independent but as a Democrat, a Democratic nominee, and a Republican nominee.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we had really a one-of-a-kind Democratic primary to begin with. That's been resolved, and the result of that was much different from all the prognosticators would have predicted early on.
Yeah.
Now we've got a wide-open general election with 4 major candidates: the Democratic nominee, Republican, and 2 independents who have their own labels. For me, it's real fun to watch. It's very interesting. And, and on a more serious note, the real big issues affecting New York and even people far beyond the borders of New York City are being debated right here in our city. So that's a good thing. I think at the end of the day, it's not going to be that dramatic in terms of the results.
You think all 4 make it to Election Day?
No, I don't think they will make it to Election Day. In fact, my bet is that they don't all make it to this Thursday, which is a critical deadline. About 75 hours from now, they have to decide whether they want to stay on the ballot or drop out. So we'll see.
But even if you drop out, your name's still on the ballot.
No, not if you do it by this Thursday.
Right. Jim Walton wrote a letter to the Board of Elections saying, take my name off the ballot.
Close of business on September 11th.
So you think what, Eric Adams drops out? Or
we'll see. But I think that...
he had a press conference Friday.
Yeah, you know what? Well, that was a long time ago.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? 75 hours is a lot of time when it takes 2 seconds to say, I think I'm going to do something else.
Are you endorsing?
I'm behind Zoran Mamdani.
Okay.
I was behind him in the primary. I support him in the general election.
So when you look at it right now, I'm kind of asking everybody this, which is when you look at what's happening in the state of the race right now, and you have high profile Democrats, the governor, Hakeem Jeffries, Senator Schumer, not endorsing. What does that say about the party?
I think it says about the party that we have a lot of different diverse opinions, which is a good thing for the party. There is just about 2 months to go, a full 8 weeks before the election. So that itself is a very long time. My prediction is that they will all come on board with the Democratic nominee, but they probably need to do some work to lay the groundwork for that kind of endorsement.
Does I'm going to blank on his name now, the congressman from Long Island. Swazi, who's saying Democratic socialism should be their own party and not part of the Democrats. Does he have a point?
Well, Tom is rather unique. It's almost like he's in his own party. So he's Tom's. I work together with him. He's done a good job straddling the Democratic and Republican parties. He likes to say that he has a common sense approach, but we all say we have a common sense approach. So if anything, Tom paves his own path, and I think Zoran Mamdani, I think he's going to be good for the city because for a lot of different reasons. He's new blood. He is in many ways untainted by anything. He's he's held to his integrity, even coming under withering attacks. So this is the kind of thing the kind of man or person we need to lead the city of New York.
Yeah, like you said, it's going to be very interesting from now until election day, but from now until this Thursday, it's going to be very interesting as well to see what plays out.
I think there's going to be a lot of action this week.
Yeah, you don't say. Every week is an adventure. Senator John Liu, great to have you here.
Good to see you, Dan.
Thank you. All right, everybody, and that's going to do it for Picks on Politics Daily. Don't forget, we will keep a close eye on what's happening this week in the mayor's race and in all things in New Jersey across the Hudson. We're just 3 weeks away from our debate with the Lieutenant Governor of New Jersey and our live town hall forum with the candidates for governor, Mikey Sherrill and Jack Ciattarelli. That's happening on October 3rd, live at Kean University with an audience. Send me your questions, dan@pix11.com. I want to hear from you, okay? All right, that'll do it. We'll see you next time.